Another common locator used in Playwright is getByLabel. And this is also one of the recommended locator to be used by Playwright. And there is actually a reason for it. Now let's first try to understand what getByLabel actually means. Now let's just take this example over here. We have a form over here, and there are some text boxes and drop downs. And on the top, you can see basically a text which explains what the text box is all about or what the drop down is all about. Now, this is actually the label of that particular text box. Now, if you have to identify this text box, what you can do is you can use getByLabel and give the label name as element name in order to identify this. Now, the reason why Playwright is actually recommending this is it is locating an element by something that you can actually see on the screen. So now what happens in this case is the developer is not actually going to change this quite often, which is also not a good idea because if I say once this as name, another time as element, another time as element name, or sometime as web element name, it's not actually a very consistent behavior that you are giving to the users as well. And they would be a little bit annoyed if there is actually different explanation or a name for this particular element. So that is the reason Playwright actually recommends this, because this is something that is actually visible on the screen and might not change quite frequently. But there is one important thing that you need to actually know in getByLabel. So for example, let's actually inspect this and then see, how we can identify that this is actually a label. So now when you inspected this, you can see that this is actually a label tag, and below that you actually have an input tag. But what is more important in here is actually this for, so now the for is the one which tells that to which element this label actually belongs to. So for example, here we have for is equal to name, and in that text box you can see that there is actually a name is equal to name provided over here. Now if this mapping, if it does not exist, for example, if this is just only having the class and does not have this attribute means, then getByLabel will not work. So whenever when you are using this getByLabel, make sure that this for mapping is actually present so that you are able to locate it correctly over there. Now let's figure out that how we can use this in tacl. So it's quite simple, as we have seen before. We just go over here and then let's say that it's a element name text box, and let's give it actually a tag as a text box and element underscore name. And now we wanted to locate this by label. So in the drop down, we select the label and then we can actually give the label name. In our case, this is actually locating its own component, but we give here actually the element name, which is actually the label in the HTML tag, which is also having a mapping to the for. You can see this also in the description over here. Label for is equal to username, and then this input is having an ID or a name which is getting associated to that particular label. Now once you have provided this, click on save, and that's it. You have actually a web element created which could be identified by label.